So let's begin in the basketball world, as that's the last sport that just finished up here. Of course, in the NBA, it's no surprise Oklahoma City Thunder won themselves a championship, first one in franchise history, even going back to the Seattle days. So good for them. Unfortunate, though, that in that game, we did lose Tyrese Halliburton for probably a year, if not more.
That was, I think, the roughest note out of that finale was... And it's kind of funny listening back to our last week episode about, I think your exact words were, he played through the injury in Game 6, so we'll see how important that is.
I didn't know how bad it was, but apparently when you're playing with a strained calf, that happens more often than not.
Which was, why we were so cautious with Aaron Gordon all year, because that was his nagging injury, was that calf.
Yeah, and it's funny, if we look back on I don't want to put any asterisks on them, but I am a little bit of a hater for Oklahoma City.
Oh, yeah.
If we look at their playoff run that they have, I think they had an injury pretty much every game of the series. The first game, I don't remember who they went up against.
Oh, like the other team had a major injury against them.
Halliburton got injured. And before that, they played us with Aaron Gordon was injured the whole time, and Michael Porter was hurt the whole time.
Yep.
They played Minnesota before the Oklahoma, actually, and that was fine. Ant did go out for a game, but did come back. So battled a lot of injury, and they found themselves a championship. So good for them, I guess.
Yeah, I don't think anyone outside of Oklahoma was cheering too much on this one.
A lot of people were. A lot of people like Oklahoma. It's mostly here if you're in the Western Conference, you're not a big fan of them for obvious reasons. They're young, and they're going to be annoying for the next however many years, as most of their players are not quite yet in that free agent market. So we'll see how that goes as time continues on.
I did see some wild takes in the aftermath, like prepare to see the Thunder in the finals, or at least like the conference finals for the next 5 years or something.
Yeah, they're built pretty well. I would say they're not super expensive quite yet, but you can kind of do whatever you want in the basketball world-ish. Denver Nuggets, I think, are not. It'll be fun to see how far away the West is from everyone else. Nuggets took them to the farthest in all of the series they played, so that's a good little mark. Had we won game series, who knows? Who knows where we would have stood?
Yeah, fully healthy roster, any sort of depth on that roster, any number of variables could change in our favor.
But good for them, I guess. Like I said, I'm not a big Oklahoma City Thunder fan, and I am happy for first-time championships. So that's always fun for a city, as we just felt that not too long ago.
Yes, definitely good for the game to start spreading the championships around outside of just the usual names. But boy, that storybook ending would have been sweet with Tyrese taking Game 7, and instead you get the bad ending, the Nat 1 roll.
He has a long way to recover, and hopefully the Pacers figure it out, because he's played such a huge role for them after being called underrated or the most overrated player. So it sucks.
And yeah, just such a tough position to leave the team in, because now you've got we were in the finals last year, and this coming season you're not going to have arguably your number one player, and the expectations are going to be a lot higher. And
yeah, you're missing your number one player. One of your longtime players, Miles Turner, is going into free agency. The one person I will give praise up to is TJ McConnell. He did play very, very well for the task asked him to sort of replace Halliburton. He actually brought a spark of scoring that we would have got from Hallie. Not quite the same, which is why it ended how it did, but
yep,
not bad for what he does supply. In the NBA, of course, we all heard about the trade last week. Kevin Durant heading out to Houston, but that was not the end of the trading for the week. A lot of big trades have been happening. The Celtics are sort of offloading. We see Drew Holiday heading out to Portland. They are getting Anthony Simons back, which is huge for them. He's a young improvement, a big scorer. They need people to score now, because they are offloading a lot of people currently. We also saw them trade away Kristaps Porzingis the next day after that as well. He's heading down to Atlanta. They get Georges Niang back. Not quite the same. They're not getting a lot of assets back for what they're trading. Simons is the best one. The Porzingis one was not a huge return at all.
That one definitely felt like more just a pure salary dump.
Pretty much. The numbers for them, I think they were, if they would have kept the same rosters, $528 million with cap and luxury tax
Oof.
added to it. And now they're down, the week after that, with all the transactions done, they're down to $280 million.
I mean, that's pretty good book balancing right there.
Not bad, especially the return's not huge for what you gave up, but Drew Holiday's aging. The big loss is Porzingis because he played such a huge role for him. He's still...
Yeah, that was a very good luxury to have on that Boston roster.
7-foot dude who can shoot, he's a good defender. I mean, it's tough to find those dudes just sort of lying around.
I think we saw him steal a couple games in the playoffs last year by himself.
He gave us problems all season long when we played them, so sad to see, but we'll see what the new Boston Celtics look like. Around the league, though, Jordan Poole. It's a pool party heading down into New Orleans. I'm sure that'll be a good time with him and Zion together. That can't go wrong, surely.
No, definitely not.
No, Jordan Poole, of course, as we know, is the guy who Draymond Green punched, and they had to send him out to die in Washington, but he's played his way. He's like a good player, but he still doesn't have his head on the shoulders. He doesn't really pay attention during timeouts. Kind of a goof and a goon. Not really what you want on your roster, but maybe he'll learn and figure it out in New Orleans. New Orleans does send out CJ McCollum, who is the NBA PA rep. I'm pretty sure he's sent out to Washington to die. Him and Chris Middleton maybe can figure out something out there that maybe the other Washington guards that they pair together have not yet, but we'll see.
Yeah, a lot of wheeling and dealing going around, especially because now I assume the timeline is pretty similar because the NHL week was a pretty similar note of people wheeling and dealing ahead of trade day or draft day, and then the free agency period coming like kind of right around the window, right around the corner here. Yeah,
free agency is right around the corner here. I don't know, the NBA one is a little weird. I think a lot of people were trying to figure out, like, the first week is mostly getting trades to fix your books in order to get the players you want to out of the draft, potentially. But overall, is a lot of just sort of finding pieces and getting some pieces maybe on a discount, like a Porzingis or Drew Holiday out there. Discount for what you're trading. You still got to pay the contract that they are going to earn this season. So the NBA draft, everything went sort of according to plan. Of course, number one, no surprise, Cooper Flagg heading down to Dallas. The great right hope once again down in Dallas. Excited for them. Got rid of Luka, and by the gods, Cooper Flagg falls in their lap. Some say it's conspiracies.
Yep, nothing suspicious about it at all.
Nothing at all. Just don't look at the cards, don't feel them. They might be cold, something about that. The other crazy one that happened last week was Ace Bailey. Ace Bailey kind of calling his shots. He wants to end up in the East. There's some teams he doesn't want to play for, Utah, Washington, the teams that do not have the great sort of team structure.
The ones that are still trying to figure it out.
Correct. And unfortunately for him, I think that ended up, he fell a little bit in the draft, but at 5, Utah did end up picking him, to which he said, I had no clue Utah wanted to pick me, even though they requested that you work out for them and you said no. So we'll see how all that shakes out. Utah is also making some trades today. They sent out Colin Sexton out to Charlotte. Be fun to see how that works out. I don't know what that means for LaMelo Ball, but maybe short days for him out there potentially.
It does seem like there are, still a lot of pieces that are like, the dominoes have been pushed over, and now we're going to see a lot more kind of falling down the
with
line.
Colin Sexton being the point guard position, he's healthy, he can score. LaMelo's been sort of unreliable. He's very much a glass cannon. He can score and do all the good stuff, but he's hurt a lot, so you can't kind of figuring out that balance. Colin Sexton coming in, I don't know. To me, that means they're probably going to look to move Melo for some sort of pieces around him. And speaking of the Ball brothers, Lonzo got traded yesterday as well. He got traded to Cleveland, where him and Donovan Mitchell will probably team up. They got rid of Isaac Okura. So, fun. I don't know what Chicago's doing, but they're doing Chicago things, I guess.
Okay, yeah. It doesn't seem like an immediate roster upgrade to me, but...
Not for them. The crazy other thing is they're traded him to a division rival. They're going to see him a ton all season long.
Yeah.
If he's healthy, I should put asterisks on that. If and when he is healthy.
That seems like the biggest thing. Just like we bet we're going to be on the upside of this one.
I mean, Okura has played fairly well out in Cleveland. He did have a good run out there. He's shown he's like a blossoming star. Lonzo, I think, depending on how he is physically, he still has a lot of ball left. I know he can go out there and play. I wanted the Nuggets to go get him, potentially on a little bit of a discount. That'd have been nice, but dreams are dreams, and he'll be out there in Cleveland this season. So probably has some good playoff hopes out there as well.
Yeah, especially after how that Cleveland team overperformed last year.
Yeah, I don't know how to feel about them. East is the East and such and things like that.
I think they kind of, I mean, at least a couple more teams at least proved that they were competitive in that Eastern side compared to where we started the season.
Yeah, Indiana had a good run. Cleveland had a good run. I think Orlando's going to be a good up-and-coming team. They are just very young heading into the playoffs. Boston's going to be almost a complete rebuild currently right now as we're seeing them tear down basically the walls to put up a brand new fortress. At least I mean, hope.
Considering that they're a season removed from a championship, it is wild how much their roster is already overhauled.
Season removed from a championship, they're not going to have their star player, potential face of the NBA, Jason Tatum, probably all season long up until we're kind of closest to the playoff time, and that depends on how team performs. I can't imagine
and that's
them.
with ideal recovery situation.
Yeah, and then Detroit. Detroit is another young team that's up and coming. They finally got the draft picks right and put a kind of a doggish team together, which is Detroit style. I think they're going to be dangerous this season, all season long. So East is looking a little bit tougher. I think we have a lot more Oklahoma City type teams out there now, very homegrown, gritty, grimy out there. So it'll be a much more fun time, at least for the viewers watching. If you are in the East, it's not going to be nearly as fun.
The parity, I think, is definitely an improvement for the product overall, because that the year before, when it was like the East games are 8 out of 10 times a throwaway, that's just not as entertaining.
We'll talk about the Denver Nuggets here because we are in the Mile High State. We need to do so. Denver Nuggets doing some interesting things. We have not one, but 2 GMs for the Denver Nuggets. We hired 2 people to do one job. Something like this has not been done before, but it's not.
Yeah, I was going to say, because we had mentioned before, like, draft day's coming up. They certainly have someone in-house who knows what's going on. And then the person who was that kind of carryover got informed they were not being offered a new contract.
Well, no. The person who was in charge of the actual draft did get they are part of the 2-team people.
Okay.
They let go of the dude who was assisting Calvin Booth at the time. They said
you can. That was Booth's personal assistant type of thing.
Booth's personal assistant got let go. I don't know why he was still there, in fact.
That's a great question, yes.
But Ben Tozer is part of the team who was leading the march, at least for the Denver Nuggets draft strategy, which we can't really have a strategy if we have no picks.
Which, yes, that did end up being... Did we have any in this draft? I know we didn't have any first round.
None.
Okay,
not a single one. Everyone else had our picks. I think Orlando and Atlanta, had our 2 picks or whatever.
Yeah, I can actually, because Guerrilla Sports put together some very good graphics on where all of the picks have ended up over the years for both of our teams.
But Denver Nuggets have not one, but 2 GMs. A lot of people are saying, is this really what you guys are going to do with what Nikola Jokic years you have left? Which I might say, when he's only going to be 30 this year, so what he has left, what is that, like 7-8 years? I think that's a long period of time that we can put a good team around him. I think he can play, at least LeBron's shown he can play a very good professional basketball into his 40s. I think Nikola Jokic can do the same. He's that sort of type of mind player, but we'll see. I will say I'm a little bit more scared. I am worried because the Cronkies try to advertise themselves as a basketball family, because Josh did go play at Missouri. I'm not going to say is because his daddy has money and contributes to that. I'm sure he was a potential D1 caliber player, but they also have a very soft spot for Missouri in general. Like, one of the moves that we made earlier this week was like a roster move, was to pick up one of the Missouri people who didn't get drafted as basically an unrestricted free agent, and is also the reason that we still have Michael Porter Jr. on the roster, is because he's from Missouri. So we will see how all that works out. Josh having his hands in, it feels like a lot of things, is scary to me, at least as a fan from a roster perspective, because I love him, but I don't think he knows as much detail as the people he hired as GMs on like the roster management stuff.
It's definitely feels like a dangerous situation to be running a team on that much like emotional and nostalgic decision making, as opposed to statistics and analytics and cold hard logic. But we'll see. Sometimes it works out.
So the odds of Michael Porter Jr. leaving the team, I think, are very, very slim to none, because he does have sort of that connect. And
I did hear, the rumblings are that there are no intentions of breaking up the core.
No, and like I said, I don't hate it. I just need Michael Porter to be a little bit more consistent. He has improved year after year. He did make the one stupid decision that kind of killed our playoff run, where he threw the ball away and then dove for it and destroyed his shoulder. hopefully he got the surgery to fix his mistake, and he learns from that, and we don't do it again, and he can continue to improve. Like I said, if I can have the Michael Porter that played from the beginning of the season through to what was trade deadline, February something, that's the guy I want. The 20+ point double machine, not the dude who's shooting. We're going to get anywhere from 16 to 2 points from him a night. He's going to take the same amount of shots, and he's going to kind of be uninterested in the game. That's the dude I do not want. Yeah,
I was going to say the first half of the season definitely made it feel like we were making, like MPJ had made some progress, had done some leveling up.
Untouchable, untradeable.
And then, the second half of the year, unfortunately, did not keep that momentum going.
Nope. As soon as the trade deadline ended, he's like, all right, I'm good, guys. We're good here. And he went back to the Michael Porter Jr. we know and love, unfortunately.
I have to imagine, just based on how everyone else sort of is like, Nikola obviously continues to amaze year after year, just finds new levels, new ways to get better. But AG also like putting in that work, working on his 3 game, making sure that he's a more well-rounded player.
Huge strides this past season. I expect him to continue to do so. He got much better this last season. I expect him to be better coming into this season as well, because people just still leave him open.
Yeah, and then I think Christian Brown's like kind of slotted into that spot of has found that sort of pre-Aaron Gordon level of like dangerous at a couple elements of the game, and now just needs to start rounding out because they are like Christian Brown's the guy you leave open for threes now.
Yeah, and Aaron Gordon's not getting as many of them. He needs to start hitting some more threes. CB does for sure.
But that being said, like again, he's making progress because this was a huge step up year for him in a. Like when we started the year, we weren't sure like if that was going to work as with CB being the rotating like 5th guy.
Yeah, and he was better than even KCP had been all season long. He led the league in fast break points. Like he's the dude that you want to be out there. If he can figure out how to shoot the ball just a little bit more, I think that's perfect.
Exactly. Just to make the defense respect the shot enough. And that's going to open up a whole bunch of more doors.
Yeah, and we're not asking him to shoot contested threes, just the wide open ones. Just hit those at least a third of the time.
Exactly.
That's perfect. That's all we would need from you. Continuing on our basketball route, WNBA, of course, we are in the midst of the middle of the season. We have basketball getting played for real now. Everybody we're seeing
warmed up,
and we're seeing how the season's about to shake out. This week was a little bit of an interesting week because we saw the Liberty fall not once but twice this week. They took 2 losses, falling down to the 3rd place. Now they lost to the Storm last Sunday, and then they lost to the Mercury a little bit later in the week as well. So tough for them. Of course, at the top is still going to be our Minnesota Lynx, who also lost a game earlier this week. So there are not many teams that I think are seen as juggernauts now that everyone is starting to play ball again. I'm just sort of looking at the league as a whole right now. We're seeing a lot more spread, like you said, some more diversity throughout the league from a couple different teams. Just looking at sort of our top tier, it's going to be Minnesota and Phoenix. New York sort of our top 3. Atlanta's right behind them, and Seattle is right behind them. All very, very good teams. Seattle's taken down New York, of course. Seattle's also taken down Minnesota. Phoenix took down New York. Atlanta, I'm pretty sure, took down Minnesota. So anything can really happen sort of at that top tier level. It doesn't look like the Lynx and Liberty right now are as untouchable as they were earlier on. And then if we look sort of at that middle of the pack of the WNBA, we got Indiana, of course, who we know a lot about, Washington, who's a little bit of a shock and surprised everyone, Vegas, and Golden State, who's the brand new team for the WNBA, all in that middle attack, which is very, very strong. We know what Vegas is capable of, at least from the past couple years that we've seen. Having Aja on your team, really anything can happen for you. Golden State has shown that they are a strong contender. They're going to compete with anybody, everybody, and there's going to be like complete dogs out there. Also, good news for Golden State is they've been selling out the past, I think, month of games, and they've seen their team value price skyrocket.
I do believe I saw something that they have already jumped to one of like top 3, if not top 1, like most profitable WNBA teams.
Yeah, they're in very good hands out there. Kind of know what's going on. Indiana, of course, we know Caitlin Clark and that team is going to be special. Don't know if it's going to be this season next, but in the next couple years, they're going to do something very, very special. Like I said, Washington's a surprise team, and of course, at the bottom of our WNBA, LA, Dallas, Chicago, and Connecticut, who we know needs some love and work. Chicago's been kind of dealing with injuries and players missing. Dallas has kind of been the same, but they ended up with Paige Beckers this season, which is why they're a little better, but not quite. They're kind of in Indiana phase that they were
They're
last
going to
year.
have, some more pieces to fill in around her to make that start feeling like it's on the upswing.
Yeah, and we've talked enough about Connecticut on this podcast now to figure out to know what they're up to. Kind of a player to highlight this week. The name to know is going to be Sonia Citron. She's going to be playing for. Oh yeah, she's over there in Washington. She's what's
Irish.
making Washington very, very special. Sonia Citron, she is a rookie this year. She's coming out of Notre Dame. She is, I would say she's very akin to a Klay Thompson sort of build. She's not as much downhill. She's a one dribble, catch and shoot sort of pull up sniper for the most part. This week she's put together a double-double game winner against Dallas last Sunday. She led the team in points, taking down Vegas earlier this week in Vegas. So she's been very, very special. She's in the ladder for points leaders. She's something I think going to be very, very special that no one quite saw coming, and I think we should have our eyes on this season and for the coming seasons. There's a lot of special talents out there, but she's the one to watch, at least for this week and this next week.
Yeah, it's a good catch and call out there because, I do not remember hearing about her in the draft kerfuffle, but anyone can rise up and take over the show. So
she's good. Like that, we know a lot of special talents out there. Of course, everyone knows the Caitlin Clarks of the world, the Paige Beckers, the Inoskas, the Brianna Stewarts, Aja Wilsons, but there are a lot of good players out there in the WNBA, and Sonia just happens to be one of them. And this being her rookie season is just like, wow. Like I said, she's the reason why Washington has been sort of special all season long. And so I think she's putting that team on the map, and which is why they're in the middle of the pack and something to be feared. Looking at sort of just some top games this week, just some highlights. LA at Chicago was a big game this week. Why is this so big? Cardoso kind of figured something out in that game. She gave LA 27 points, and Angel Reese had an 18-17 double-double. This one was also a little sad because Chicago did win this one, but they're going to lose Cardoso. I think Cardoso's last game with them was Tuesday, where before she has to head back out to Brazil to playing for her national team.
Ooh, boy. Yeah. Busy schedule.
Yeah, she's one of the few pros that are doing this, apparently. Everyone else, there's a big sort of national tournament going on, but a lot of the pros are staying and playing in the WNBA. She is one of the few that the national team has asked.
Giving the national team some love.
I don't know if it's some love or as an obligation. I don't know how the national team contracts all sort of work out. The other big game that happened earlier this week, just a few days after, of course, was the Liberty and Golden State Valkyrie. This one, Liberty take this one, 81-78.
Ooh,
the Valks did a good job. Like I said, the Liberty have been Titans at least up through the beginning of the season. We know how good they are. They are the former champions for a reason, but the Valkyrie held on and held on just long enough to get it to the end there and make it interesting. But Ionoska Sabrina turned it on there at the end, and she scored 7 of her last 11 in her sort of poor shooting night that she had. And all happened during crunch time. That was sort of all she wrote, at least for that game.
Yeah, I'd love to have 7 of 11 on a poor night.
Things happen. She's known to turn on. And a lot of our shooters this past couple weeks seem to be struggling for some reason. Her, Caitlin Clark, everyone else in the league. There's some sort of bug going around.
Yeah, Caitlin was on a real long three-pointer slump at the beginning of the week. I think she finally broke that.
Yeah, Sabrina's in sort of that same spot. It's been rough out there for the shooters, unless, of course, you're our friend out in Washington, where you're just still lighting up. It don't matter. And of course, the last game to highlight this week was the overtime win, Minnesota and Atlanta. In Atlanta, Minnesota do take this one 96-92. The former finals runner-up, the Lynx did hold on just enough. The Lynx, of course, were led by Collier, who did miss a game earlier this week, and they did end up losing without her. Surprise, surprise. But the well-balanced Atlanta team did do just enough to push the game into overtime, but could not hold on long enough to win the game, unfortunately.
Well, good to see Nafisa back from that little, I think that was a back tweak or something that had her out for a game or two, because you don't want her out for very long, especially when she seems to be having a heck of a career year here, coming right off that unrivaled MVP and into the regular season full blast.
She may be WNBA MVP, and it may not be even close to season potentially.
Fingers crossed she keeps it up, and I mean, maybe we'll get some second half of the season competition for her, but it does seem like she is kind of head and shoulders above the pack right now.
Yep, and there are 44 games this season that did to get our overall games in the WNBA have been extended thanks to the CBA, I think, from a couple of years ago, and everyone now wants more WNBA action because what else are you going to watch during the summer? except for the sports that we talk about here on this podcast. So we are just about to that halfway mark. I think we are about 18 games into our 44, at least for most teams. Some teams are a little bit less than that as well. So I think that is going to be the wrap up on our round ball, at least our bouncy round ball.